Alright guys, here's our old water pump. And as you can see here in this part right here, as well as this part, the gasket stuck to the housing over here. So we're gonna get all that cleaned up on that surface and get ready for our new one. Welcome back guys to Steven's DIY Auto Repair. We're back here with this 04 Camry and we have a coolant leak. We diagnosed it, we pressurized the system, and we found to be a water pump. So today we're going to be replacing the water pump on this 04 Toyota Camry. So here's our new water pump. And while we're in the system, we're going to go ahead and add a new thermostat. And there's our gasket for the thermostat. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so we're going to start off by, we have a bucket down there. I don't know if you guys can see that. And that little spout sticking out right there is our petcock. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drain all the coolant out of the system. And then we're going to come over here and start removing our alternator, the wiring harnesses, and the entire alternator in order to get to our water pump that sits right just below it. It's going to be that pulley right there. So we're going to go ahead and take a look before we get started at our new water pump. So there it is guys. It's already got the gasket on there. It doesn't come with the pulley, so we're gonna have to put a pulley on it. We're gonna have to put our old pulley on it. So there you have it guys. So let's get to draining this system and getting the old one pulled out. Alright guys, so under the vehicle, here's our petcock. So we're gonna turn that and we're gonna get our coolant dripping from there. So we have our bucket under there. And we're gonna go from the top and turn it and let the coolant drain. So if you guys want this to drain faster, you just take off your radiator cap to allow it to drain faster. And it's important to note, the system is cold. We're not doing it while it's hot. It's very dangerous to do it while your system is pressurized or the coolant is hot. Okay, so that's about done dripping. Pretty much got all of it out. We're gonna come over here, disconnect our positive battery terminal before we start taking out our alternator. So we'll let that drip a few more, then we'll put the petcock back in and start on our alternator. All right, guys, so now that we got it all drained out, we're gonna go ahead and remove our alternator and start working on getting our water pump out. So let's get, stop! Wait a minute. What are you doing, Steven? Wait, what do you mean? What's wrong, guys? What do you mean, what's wrong? You're just gonna throw the new water pump on just like that? Yeah, why not, guys? That's what's wrong, is the water pump. So what's the big deal? We're just gonna put a new water pump on. What are you, crazy? You're not gonna flush the system first. Wait, why would I flush the system, guys? Oh, wait, duh. Of course. Why wouldn't we flush the system? To get out all the bad coolant and sediments before we install our new water pump. Duh. Alright, guys. Sorry for that little stupid skit. Hopefully you guys found it a little amusing. Over here like talking to myself. So actually, before we go ahead and throw on a new water pump, I'm going to go ahead and do a couple flushes through the system to get out any of the old coolant, as well as any dirt, sediments, anything that could possibly ruin our new water pump that we put on. So it's a good idea to do that before you put on your new water pump, because you don't want to do the flush after you put on your new water pump, because then you could potentially get all that stuff in your new water pump and it can prematurely fail. So it's almost recommended sometimes to actually do that before installing a new water pump. So that's what we're going to do here. So basically the concept is going to be, we're going to fill this up with some distilled water and just run the vehicle for a little bit. Get it rotating through the system, and then we're going to drain it and do it again. And we're also going to put some specialized cleaner in here. I'm not going to show you guys all that because this is not going to be a coolant flush video. This is how to remove the water pump here. If you guys want to see a coolant flush video, I actually have a coolant flush video on my 2017 Dodge Charger SRT Hellcat, and I'll go ahead and link that in the description below so you guys can check that out. It's actually a pretty popular video. It's got almost 2,000 views so far, so thank you guys for that as well. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and start flushing this system out. We're not going to do a complete flush. We're just going to do a quick, maybe 2 or 3 rounds and call it a good day. Call it good. And then I'll bring you guys back when we actually start taking this bad boy apart. So I'll bring you guys right back. Alright, guys. So now we flushed out our system pretty well. We disconnected the positive battery cable, and now we're going to start on our alternator. So you're going to have a few connectors up top, as you can see. You're going to have to disconnect, and then there's one, and then there's one underneath it. There's 2 fasteners you're going to have to take off, and obviously you're going to have to loosen the tension on your belt to take it off that pulley right there. So we'll bring you guys right back once we get this off. Alright guys, so we got our alternator out now. So you had like 2 wiring harnesses on top. You had one down here, and then you had one 10mm bolt holding in the main hot wire or 12-volt wire coming from the battery. And that was a 10mm. And then down here you had a 12mm bolt, and then up top here you had a 14mm bolt holding those two, holding that alternator in. So now here's our water pump, and here's our pulley. So it looks like we're gonna have to take the pulley off first in order to get to all the bolts that's holding in the water pump. So for the pulley here, all those fasteners are going to be 13mm. So we're going to go ahead and take that off and then bring you guys right back. Alright guys, so we got the pulley off, and it was fun. So as you can see there, we put the 19mm socket on the tensioner and had this little extension coming out. We had to use 2 wrenches. One, because this moves, so you're not gonna be able to loosen it. So we had to have 1 wrench set on here, kind of holding this from turning, and we popped the other fasteners loose. That's the best way I found to do it. It might even be easier, and probably should have tried it before we took the alternator and the pulley off, or the belt off, I should say. We probably should have tried to use the tension of that belt and loosen the fasteners then. So that might be something you want to try. I didn't really think of doing it that way. I was hoping I could just go ahead and pull the whole water pump out without having to take that off. But of course, there's fasteners behind it, and I couldn't get to them unless I took that pulley off. So just an FYI. So, all right guys, we'll go ahead and pull this water pump out and bring you guys right back. All right guys, so I don't know if you can see very well, but you have that one right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe it's 5. There's one on the bottom. Fasteners in order to get this off. And they're all gonna be 10mm, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this bad boy off and bring you guys right back. All right guys, here's our old water pump. And as you can see here in this part right here, as well as this part, the gasket stuck to the housing over here. So we're gonna get all that cleaned up on that surface and get ready for our new one. All right guys, and we're gonna compare, and they're exactly the same. This one comes with 4 out of the 6 new fasteners, so we're gonna go ahead and use those. And if I'm not mistaken, this seems to set down a little lower than this one does. So there you have it guys. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up our mating surface down here and get ready to put the new one back on. So we'll bring you guys right back. All right guys, so we got our surface cleared, got it cleaned up of all old gasket, and then we're gonna put a very thin layer of this water pump and thermostat housing gasket. Now our new pump comes with the gasket, and it's already kind of stuck on the water pump. So if you have a gasket that is not stuck to the water pump already, like this one is so conveniently done, then you will use a little bit of this on the water pump and on the housing to help your gasket stick. But this one, it's Duralast Gold, so we paid a little bit more for this gasket to be stuck on there like that. So it makes our life a little bit easier. So we're gonna go ahead and apply a very thin layer of this to our housing here, and then we're gonna put our other bolt, our new pump on, and we're gonna bolt it back. And it's gonna be 80 inch-pounds for the torque specs on those. So we're gonna do 1 round of 60 inch-pounds because that's the lowest setting my torque wrench will go, and then we'll do a second round of 80 inch-pounds. Don't want to do foot-pounds, you'll snap the bolts. So we'll bring you guys right back. Oh, and remember, do it in like a star pattern or crisscross, or if you have service information, look up the service and look up for the specified torque sequence. There we go. All right, guys, so we'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys, so we got our new water pump on and torque to spec. So just to give you guys a heads up, you're only going to be able to get a torque wrench like on 2, 3 of these fasteners, which are the ones up top. The one on the bottom there and the one back there, you're just going to have to do it by feel, guys. So it's not very much, only 80 inch-pounds. 80 inch-pounds, not foot, inch-pounds. So just be careful, guys. So now we're going to go ahead to our thermostat housing here. We're going to take this off and go ahead and put our new thermostat in. And these are also going to be 2 10mm fasteners, one up top, and then there's one on bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's one on top, one on bottom. So let's get to it. All right, guys, after some fighting, we finally got the thermostat housing off. For whatever genius reason, this goes on, right? And you have to come from the right side because there's a guard here from you getting it to the bottom bolt on the right side. You got your exhaust manifold in the way. So, okay, fine. Trying to take out this lower radiator hose from the housing. You have this stupid hose clamp, genius hose clamp, and I just could not get it off. So I had to cut it and bend it just to get it off. And even when I got it off, it was hard to get this even off the hose itself. So we're just going to put a regular screw down clamp on. Look at this. It's the same one right there. It is just idiotic. God, that pisses me off. So after about 30 minutes fighting with that, we finally got the thermostat housing off. And the thermostat actually looks fairly new, but we're going to go ahead and change it since we're already here in the system. So we're going to go ahead and pull this one out, clear the mating surface, and put our new one back in. So we'll bring you guys right back. Okay, guys, so we got our mating surface cleaned up on our housing, as well as our other housing. And now we're going to go ahead and put the gasket on our new thermostat. Alright, guys, so we got our gasket on, and just to note that this does not come with the gasket. You have to buy it separately, and it just fits over that little rim. Now when we go to install it, it's important to know, see if you guys see right there, that little, hopefully you guys can see it, turn it on the back side. See that little stem right there? You want to make sure that that goes up on top, and that helps release any air, any bubbles in your system. So you want to put that at the very top. Make sure that's at the most top of the engine. So there it is. So now we're going to put a little thin layer of gasket maker on the inside here. And then we'll put it on and torque it up to 80 inch-pounds. Just like the water pump, 80 inch-pounds. So we'll go from bottom to top. We'll do about 60 inch-pounds. Then we'll go back and hit it with 80 inch-pounds. So we'll bring you guys right back. Alright, guys, so we got our housing back on and torqued down to 80 inch-pounds. And then we actually have a decent clamp on here. Not that crap we had before. Here's what they are. You can get these I got these at Harbor Freight. I got two different boxes that are 2 different sizes. They come in handy, guys, for instances like this. So just an FYI. So now we're gonna go ahead and put on our pulley. And one thing I forgot to mention to you guys. See these two holes? These two smaller ones on this side and on the other side? There's actually a special tool that it's almost like a fork. And it comes out into a long arm. And it's actually meant to stick in those two side holes and hold the pulley while you loosen or tighten the bolts to attach this to your water pump. I failed to mention that before. We don't have that tool, and I think I found it on Amazon for like, I think there's a cheap one for like 20 bucks, or there's a little bit better one for like 40 bucks. So just an FYI, if you guys go to do this, I highly recommend you get that. I'm gonna go ahead and order one for future references, but right now we're gonna hopefully put this back on similar to the way we took it off. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on now, and I'll bring you guys right back. Okay guys, so we got our pulley hand tight on there. And before we go ahead and go through all the trouble of torquing them down and putting everything back together and putting new fluid back in, we're gonna go ahead and repressurize the system. And it goes to 11 PSI, but we're just at 10. 10 is fine. I just want to make sure after setting for about 10-15 minutes that it's not going to leak again, and then have to go through the trouble of draining out the fluid and going back through all this again. So basically what we're doing right now is just we're going to verify the repair while we have everything still open. So I'll bring you guys back in about 10-15 minutes and see what happens. Alright guys, so it's been about 15 minutes and we haven't dropped a little. So after my last recording, or earlier, you guys saw it was just at 10. I went ahead and pumped it up to 11 exactly and had it right there on the corner so it'd give me a better indication if there was a slight change. So we're good. So now we can go ahead and tighten the pulley bolts, start putting everything back together. So we'll release the pressure. Cool. Now we can take this off and start on our pulley bolts. So this is how we're doing it, guys. So when I loosened them, I used the tensioner bolt here, and now what I did was I ran a skinny extension through the block where the alternator sets, and I got an oversized stubby on one part. Now this is not ideal. I don't really recommend doing this, but we don't have that tool and we can't wait. We need this vehicle up and running. So it's my car, so we're gonna go ahead and do it like this. So if I break something, it's on me. It's not a customer's car, so this is how we're gonna do it in my application. So just for you DIYers out there, if you don't want to buy the special tool or can't or don't have it, this is another way to do it. So we're gonna go from the bottom and just start tightening these up. Now you're not gonna be able to get a torque wrench in there, so everything's gonna be by feel, but it's supposed to be 19 foot-pounds, so still not that much. So we're just gonna get them as snug as we can. So we'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys, worked pretty well. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the alternator back, put everything back together, and get this bad boy running again. So we'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys, so now that we got everything put back together, all the wiring harnesses connected, everything torqued to spec, we're gonna go ahead and add our coolant. So this is 50-50. It's already pre-diluted for us. It's already pre-mixed. So all we got to do is just dump it in. So we're going to go ahead and fill it up, take it for a spin. Before we do that, we're going to make sure we get all the air bubbles out of the system. So if you guys haven't seen my other video on how to do a coolant flush, basically you're going to have to run the car with the heater on so that coolant will flow to your heater core. And if you have air in your system, the heater's not going to be hot. So if your heater is hot, it means you're good to go. But if you have air in your system, you're going to have to burp it out. You're going to have to probably leave your cap off for just a minute, for a couple seconds, to let the air bubbles bubble out, or your overflow tank. Also, you can come over here to your radiator hose and what they call burping it. Basically, you're just going to squeeze it to help get out some of that air. So I'm not going to show you guys any of that in this video. If you guys want to check that out, again, I'll go ahead and put that link to my coolant flush video in the description below so you guys could check that out. So without further ado, we're going to fill it up and then we're going to go test it. So I'll bring you guys right back. All right, guys, so we made a mistake. It's not a big mistake, but I'm going to go ahead and point it out. I'm not going to edit it out. I'm not going to try to cover it up. I'll admit my mistakes. We're all human. So initially I said 11 PSI, right? Wrong. It's actually 1.1, and because it's a foreign car, it's not an American-made car, they go by a different pressure system. So they go, it's not a PSI or pounds per square inch, it's like a bar system. I'm not going to get into all that detail, but basically the 1.1 translated to PSI is about 13 to 16 PSI. So in reality, we should have pumped it up to about that, exactly that, but even at 11 PSI that we pumped it up to is still told us whether or not our system was leaking, which it was. And then when we checked it after the fix, it confirmed that we fixed it. So whether we pumped it up to 10 PSI or to 20 PSI, the initial point of it is to see if any air leaks out. So just an FYI, guys, make sure that you guys are paying attention, whether it's PSI or on a different system. So we made a mistake, but it wasn't nothing costly. I just got ahead of myself and overlooked all that. So life lesson, slow it down, guys. All right, so let's take her for a ride and see what happens. All right, guys, and we're back. We took about a 30-minute, 45-minute test drive. No overheating. The heater is hot as it can be. It's great, so that means we have no air in the system. It took about 1.5 gallons of coolant. Might end up taking the full gallon once we start driving it around, and a little bit more, and it's, gets fully in the system. But no overheating, no leaking, we're good to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure to let me know. Hit that like button, drop a comment down in the comment section, and let me know. If you guys would like to be notified when I put out another video, make sure to hit that bell notification, guys. And as always, subscribe to my channel for more informational videos and DIY projects. And as always, guys, and until next time, have a good one.